And, you know, they're firing it up, and he tries to pass me this joint. And I'm like, oh, I'm cool, man. No, he's like, no, you're not. He's like, fuck this guy, Richie. I don't trust him.
Where the fuck is McClay? Awesome. This is the Bogcast, episode 112. I'm Keith Obit with my best friend, Brian McClay. If you enjoy the show, make sure to hit the subscribe button and like and comment and all that stuff. And if you want to find some more videos, you can find them over McClay's head right now. Today, we have an awesome guest. He is from the band Incite. What's up, El?
What's cracking?
Nothing, man. We really appreciate you taking the time to come down and bullshit with us, man.
Oh, no worries, man. I'm just probably going to miss the Cardinals game, or at least the first half. But
Oh, shit. My bad, dude.
Nah, not at all, man.
Should I schedule this later?
Nah. I picked the time. I wasn't even thinking about it. But, you know, it's like...
Maybe we could put it on in the back.
Like, I like, you know, I watch football, but I'm not like one of those freaks that's got to like watch every game.
Yeah, like every play and everything.
Yeah.
You don't have a fantasy football that you're...
No, you mean Dungeons and Dragons for jocks?
Yeah, no shit on.
Although I will say, I almost did it this year. A buddy of mine, Pat, was trying to get me to do it. And I was like, maybe next year when it's not like a weird...
I have many friends obsessed with that shit. And...
I had, you know... I kind of flirted with the idea of doing it, but I just wasn't, you know, like this year I knew it was going to be bad, like no preseason and all that. I'm like,
it's not the same.
No, and everybody's going to get fucked up. So I can say fuck, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool.
I have a buddy named Richie that is huge into fantasy sports, and he has 14 teams, but they're all like those leagues where you put in $1,000 to get in, and he treats it like a job when fantasy season, because he's gonna make 10 grand.
Yeah.
Richie, the singer for Incite, I don't think he did it this year, but like he does baseball. I mean, he does football too, but I don't think he did it this year. But he's normally like big time baseball.
Yeah.
And
They have fantasy for everything, huh?
Oh fuck yeah!
That's a different level.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I'd rather, you know, fight some orcs than
Yeah. Fuck
or
yeah.
if Ezekiel Elliott's getting 8 points or however that works, you know.
Yeah, but I saw that you guys were recently in the studio and fucking recorded 5 new jams. Oh, that sounds badass.
We just got back.
So I don't know if you could talk about that experience a little bit.
I can. You know, at the beginning of the year, January of 2020, everything was looking really good. You know, we did a European tour, and then we were gonna play this festival in Mexico City, and then, you know, we were coming back actually. We came back on the day after Valentine's Day, finished up a European, it was a headline tour, and it was really good, and we were like super stoked. But we started to hear about like, oh, this virus, you know, coming out of China and blah blah blah. And when we flew out of Germany, and you know, you have to stop in Heathrow connecting flight. And we almost missed our connecting flight because they were like freaking out. Like, you know, they have this line that you have to go through like customs really fast. But they had one before you even got to that. You know, where have you been? What have you been doing? How long have you been to China? And
what time period was this? Was this early 2020 or late 2019?
It was February.
February, okay.
February 2020.
Right as it was starting to hit.
Real bad, yeah. And so then got home and all the shit happened. And then we played a festival, the Hell in Heaven Festival in Mexico City. And I mean, if that was going to be the last show ever, or at least for a long time, that was the way to go. So I was stoked we got to do that. A lot of bands pulled out from that, a lot of big bands. And so then we were just like, you know, what the fuck are we going to do? We might as well start writing. And we decided we were just going to do an EP, you know, because kind of follow that down format. You know, they're starting to do it to where they just do these EPs because, you know, most kids anyway don't
have the attention span.
They don't have the attention span. They don't buy music like old school dudes
like we
buy.
did.
Like
yeah.
albums.
I talk about that all the time.
Record shopping.
Yeah.
You know, kids have missed out on an amazing experience.
Having the physical copy and opening the
I will say that I'm stoked that vinyl's come back, you know, in a big way, because I mean, it never really left for like hardcore dudes, but like it's starting to be like a thing, you know. And I think that's cool because, you know, like you said, when you grow up, you know, you have the big album art and the liner notes and the pictures and all that stuff, and you put the, you know, needle down on the record and that crackle and pop, and then the, you know, whatever kicks in, and that's just magic.
Do you think
I'm sorry.
real quick, do you think CDs are ever gonna be that, like how vinyls are coming back?
No, because it's not the same. You know, like, I mean, it might, as I think it would be more of like
There's gonna be some nerdy dudes that will do that.
like laser like Laserdisc, you know.
Yeah.
But there's something you can't replicate. I mean, even tapes. I mean, you know, like a lot of underground metal band, that's like their still. It's like, oh, we're so cult, we're gonna put it out on tape only, you know.
Nobody's gonna be able to listen to
Yeah,
it.
well,
Eminem did that recently. Came out with like a tape and shit.
It's like a lot of underground like death metal bands, black metal bands. That's like their big thing. It's like, oh, we're just putting this on a cassette. And I get it, but even when I was a kid, I hated cassettes. I only used them out of necessity.
Yes.
I was a vinyl dude, you know.
Yeah, because that's
cassettes always got fucked up.
Yeah, because the pencil and
rewinding and fast forwarding, that shit sucks.
Kids will never understand the pencil and the cassette trick.
They will not.
Oh yeah,
fun.
yeah.
You know, this. I used to be in Autumn's End with, you know, like I said, with Cannell and all them, and Anthony, the original guitar player, he was moving one time. He told me a story. He was moving, and his kid, who is now, I think he's 22, but back when he was like 8 or 9, he pulled an Iron Maiden cassette out of this box of junk, and he's like, "What's this?" He's like, "It's a cassette." He's like, "What do you do with it?" And he's like, "It says Iron Maiden on it." He's like, "It's got music on it." He's like, "What do you put in it?" And he had to show him like how
Oh damn,
tape deck worked. And this is like, you know, 04, so it's not that long ago.
Yeah,
you know?
shit. I guess these kids just are used to
to
computers and streaming and all that shit. But my favorite part was buying my favorite band, then going to the thank yous and seeing the bands that they knew, because then not only was it cool to they're friends with that band, or like who's that band? Let's check them out.
Exactly.
And you could discover other music.
I mean,
too.
and now everything's at your fingertips. But yeah, that was like a big thing for me. You know, like
the ritual.
Yeah, the ritual of that, and you know, I always did that. You always looked at the liner notes to see who they thanked, and then like in pictures, what shirts are they wearing? You know,
who produced it?
Yeah,
I'm really into that. Engineered
Oh, yeah.
it, and then if they had the lyrics, let's check these fucking lyrics out.
That's why I would get mad as a kid when like bands, you'd have that cheap, like that weird plastic sleeve, and that was it.
Oh, like at the warehouse?
Well,
nothing.
No inside stuff in the record. I always thought it was such a cop out. Or, you know, you learn that when you get older and you learn about that stuff, like, oh, maybe it was cheaper to not have all that stuff in there, but
yeah, just harder to duplicate.
But it was just a jip. I'd be mad. I'm like, what the fuck?
How were you guys writing these songs during lockdown? Were you guys able to get together, or did you guys kind of do it?
No, we can't anyway, because up until recently, I'm the only one that still lived here. Like Richie and his wife had moved they moved around a lot just to do it. He was living in Vegas at the time. I live here. The drummer, Lennon, he lives in Austin, and then our new guitar player lives right outside of San Diego. So the magic of Dropbox, you know, digital. I mean, and the convenience of it is cool. Again, it's one of those things you can't replicate being in the room together.
Yeah, practicing.
Yeah.
Just vibing off of each other and riffing.
Exactly. Yeah. But we've never, ever since I've been in this band, we've never got to do that. So we've never done that.
Well, the thing is, you took advantage of the situation. I mean, most people didn't do shit during lockdown, and I respect the people that are fucking creating art during that time.
Oh, dude, just wait. By mid-year, there's so many albums gonna drop this year, because you know that's all everybody did, you know, like big bands anyway, you know. Everybody's gonna be putting music out, you know, and us included. I don't know when it's coming out, but you know, it was one of those things. Getting back to that, you know, we just kind of kicked around the idea of just doing EPs, because there's validity in just doing that, because you can put out product faster, tour on it, and still play old stuff that fans want to hear, and have new music, new shirt, new whatever. So, you know, we kind of started kicking around riffs and putting together, you know, I think we had 7 songs total, and then we picked the 5 ones we liked the best, and went back with the last couple records we've done with Steve Evitz, who He does like
He did like Deftones and shit.
He might have.
I think he did.
He might have. I don't know. I don't. I know Matt Hyde did.
Or Matt Hyde. You're right.
Yeah,
Matt Hyde. My bad. Matt Hyde. Yeah.
Fuck Matt Hyde.
Oh, really?
Oh, let's hear about it.
Oh, dude. Anyhow, Steve Evans, rad fucking dude. He most recently did the last 2 Devil Driver records, their double record, and I think he did their country record. And he's done like
But he did your last EP.
yeah, he did this and our last 2 records. And
Nice.
working with him is amazing.
Well, what's the difference between working with him and say Matt Hyde?
Well, I mean, to be fair to Matt Hyde, when we did Up in Hell with him, he was kind of in a weird space where he was thinking about he was gonna quit, the biz, and he had done a couple Deftones records.
So he's doing your album and he wants to quit.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like,
Exactly
what
my
the
point.
fuck?
So we went to this really rad studio in North Hollywood to do the drums, and we did all the rest of it at his house, which was cool because he had a pool and we could use it if we wanted. His wife was super nice. He had cool dogs, and he had this really nice backyard. And if we weren't in there tracking, we just kick back. The weather's super nice out in California, so we just hung out by the pool. But he was not cool.
His heart wasn't in it.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And it shows in the production. Like, I would love to remaster that. And just because, like I said, he was me and him just butted heads, man. It's
That's
like,
a bummer to the point where if you don't have a good relationship with your producers and engineers to that fact, to that point,
It's hard to create.
that not only is it hard to create, but they could totally
Oh,
ruin
dude.
your whole project.
Well, dude,
Yeah,
and just to expand on that, so we became friends with the dudes in Holy Grail when we toured with them with Devil Driver, and I bought one of their records because they had this one song they did live, and I was like, oh, that's fucking a jam, I'm buying that record. And I get it home, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with Holy Grail, but they're like kind of a throwback, like when people like think of heavy metal, like 80s heavy metal, that's what they sound like. That era, like Saxon and Maiden and Priest, that kind of era. And Matt Hyde did their record, and it sounded like Avenged Sevenfold. It didn't even sound like the same fucking band. The songs are the same, but the
production was that much different.
Oh, dude, it's so wild. So yeah, and then in contrast, Steve Evans, I call him the Party V because he's like one of them dudes that like kind of wears the same thing every day. So
like
he's
Steve Jobs.
Yeah. So he's always he wears, sneakers, blue jeans, black V-neck, probably from like the Gap or Urban Outfitters, wherever. But he's always wearing it. So I'd call him Party V because when we would do pre-production, like the first couple times, he came down here. And we went to rented a Francisco's for a month. And watching him, you can tell his heart's in it. Because when you hit a part or something or catch a groove, he's like, he'll get by the drum kit and he's
Jamming out.
Yeah, he's totally jamming out,
Yeah.
And, he's like East Coast, so you see a little bit of that hardcore vibe from him. And he's this like skinny little thing. So it's just
So that
funny.
just adds to the creativity and makes it fun. And,
Because you can see he's getting hyped and you're onto something.
Yeah.
So then when you go to actually record, it's like, and I hate recording because like, I'm going to be straight up. I am not a good musician. I just am a good performer. I will throw that at, anybody that ever came up to me and said, man, you fucking suck. I'd be like, yes, but I'm entertaining enough to be able to do it live.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up because that's something that I wanted to talk about a little bit. Your guys' stage presence is super energetic. I mean, that's one of the things that a lot of people talk about, and you guys talk about. Like you're saying, you pride yourself on.
Oh
it,
yeah,
which is very important. I think in the time we live in, where like you're saying, a lot of people aren't jamming together. A lot of people aren't going to shows and this and that. Like you have to put on a really good show to get people out of their house and into these clubs.
And even then, it's like dudes are on their phones, or they're doing this.
Oh, that's got to drive you crazy. I never thought of that.
Oh, it's like, dude, what did you come for? But, I've noticed that, like, especially in town, there's dudes that go to shows because they're going to support their friends, because they love music. And then there's dudes that go to say they were, just to be seen. oh, I was at such and such. You know, I went to Cannibal Corpse. I went to Sounds of the Underground.
Yes.
Whatever it is, you know, they're just scenesters. I mean, you know, and I got to the point before I started, you know, playing the Incite. I just quit going to shows because it's like, you know, it's like I'm not gonna support these bands anymore, even if they're my friends. I'm sorry. If I don't like your band, I'm not going because you know, after I joined the band, and not to throw any of my friends under the bus, but you know, I have friends that play in bands, and I'm like, sorry, dude, I just can't get into that. I respect that, but you know, making up excuses that you know for a show that you knew a month in advance, you know, you couldn't get a babysitter or whatever the excuse was. It's like, okay, cool. You know what? I would come support your band because you're my homie, but I'm not going to do it anymore because I don't like your band. I love you, but I hate your band.
And I agree.
Well, at least you're honest about that because most
Yes.
people aren't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I've told my friends.
They
straight, I was
tell
like,
them to their friends
Yeah.
that they're awesome, and then behind their back, they
Yeah,
just
they're like,
talk shit. Yeah.
That's the worst thing you could do.
yeah.
No, I know. As a good friend, you should be like, your band
No,
sucks.
you know, and you know, one of my best friends, Byron Filson, I'm sure you
Oh,
guys.
yeah. Byron's been on here.
Oh, yeah. The
I love
B-Hammer.
Byron.
You know, like, he's my ultimate homie, and at least I know him and this dude, his name is, he goes by Shawnee Ringo, but Sean Stearman, them two dudes, they're the only dudes that I've ever met, you know, in the metal scene in Phoenix, whatever you want to call it. They're like straight up, like if I had a bad show or if something sucked, they're going to be like, well, you know, I don't know, dude, it was kind of whack, you know.
That's
It's
good.
like musicians looking out for each other.
Sure,
Yes.
you know, because I don't, you know, I don't want sunshine blown up my ass, you know? It's like, I don't got time for that.
There's
you know?
no way you can grow as a
Yeah.
musician or a person.
And, you know, like
that.
the very first, this is one of my favorite, like when I first joined Incite, the whole process of that was just so bizarre. So the very first show was on Valentine's Day at Brick by Brick in San Diego. And, you know, I'm sort of out of my element because I barely know these songs. I only had 8 rehearsals to like learn this set. And this was like for a 2-month-long tour, you know.
So you're pretty nervous?
Oh, yeah, just because, you know, I don't know any of the, I know I kind of knew Richie, kind of, but like.
And they were already kind of like
Oh, yeah.
friends.
And friends and established and, you know, and you're on tour with Soulfly. And so, you know, it's like this big.
Was this your first kind of big on the road tour?
It was like my first legit like US tour. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I just remember I almost fell off stage at the show. And then Jeff, his name is Jeff, the Soulfly sound guy. I mean, he straight up came, he's like, your tone sucks. You need to work on that because it's doing this and this and that. I'm like, all right, you know. But, you know, it's one of those, I want to hear that. You know, I don't want to hear, oh, dude, you're going to be so fucking awesome. You know, blah, blah. He was just like, that sucked. You need to do this and fix this and fix it. I'm like, yes, sir. You know,
you have that respect for him as being not,
Yeah.
you know, on the
Soulfly
road, a
sound. Yeah, yeah.
professional.
yeah.
He's all around hearing good, you know, good music all the time or tone.
Mhm.
You know, I would respect him enough to be like, thank you. Tell
Well,
me every time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
see,
yeah.
and therein lies the problem. Is a lot of dudes, you know, and I hate to, you know, single anybody out, but like guitar players are usually the worst ones about it. It's like, you know, you can always tell the bands that like are a real cohesive unit and everybody gets along, or at least has a common goal, because like tones are dialed in to each other, not like I've worked with you. This is my tone.
No,
Yeah.
I know tone dudes.
Yeah, you know, it's just like, and they won't bend. You know, no, this is my tone.
A band is the cohesive,
Yeah.
of everyone together.
But when
know.
you dial them in together, it's going to make your shit sound, you know, even if it's like, it doesn't matter, you know, because you can go to a show and you'll watch these line check and you're like, oh, you know, what the fuck? But when you hear it all together, it's like, oh,
yeah, that's
all
true.
right, you know.
You talked about, you know, joining the band. They were already established. What was it like? How did they receive you coming on?
Okay, so real quick, like, the whole way this came about, Autumn's End was in kind of a lull, and we're kind of in a burnout point, and I just wanted something to do. We had a manager at the time. I was like, dude, find me something to fucking do. You know, I don't want to sit at home. I don't want to just sit around. And I was friends with Gloria Cavalera on Facebook, and she just says, hey, bass players, I have a gig for you if you're interested. So I hit her up. I'm like, what's the gig? She's like, I can't say right now. I'm like, well, my name's El. I'm in Autumn's End. Here's a link to our shit. Let me know if it's what you're looking for. 5 minutes later, she's like, can I forward this to my friend? I'm like, sure. Next day, Richie hits me up. Friend requests me on Facebook. Sends me a message. Oh, dude, I remember you. We played some shows together, blah, blah, blah. And then it was like this back and forth. They needed a fill-in for this tour. Excuse me. And, it was like, well, he might be able to do it. He might not. And it was like, and it was right around the Super Bowl. And so it was like this big rigmarole to do it. And when we finally nailed down a time to audition, they like, here's these songs, look them up. So I like kind of, spent a night basically trying to learn these songs. Go in, we run through them. Like I had 3 of the 5 down, and like 2 of them were just like a train wreck. And they're like looking at me and like, well, what do you think, man? I'm like, well, what do you think? This is your fucking band. I'm just, and they're like, well, can you do it? And I'm like, yeah. And, I'll say this, for like the whole like Cavalera family, when you're like in with them, they treat you like family from day one until you like do something to fuck it up. They're like the most welcoming, warm people ever.
That's like, really cool to hear.
Yeah.
Because that's how I would like, just knowing like the Cavaleras and Max and everything, their outward persona, that's how I would think them to be.
Yeah.
So it's good to hear that that's really like that.
And I'm going to say this right now that I have this public forum, it's really funny. Like, I don't see it as much anymore, but when I first joined the band, Richie gets a lot of hate, just because
he's the son of a Cavalier.
Yeah, son of a Cavalier. And it's like one of these damned if you do, damned if you don't, like if you put out this killer fucking record, oh, it's just because of your dad, you got all these connections and blah, blah, blah. And if it sucks, oh, well, you're just not as good as your dad and blah, blah, blah. And,
I feel like as an audience member, I see both ends of it because I also see like I'll listen to anything a Cavalera does.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So,
but I'm just going to go out on a limb and tell your viewership, I have seen from the inside, Richie has never had anything handed to him. And I remember them, like I said, we played a couple shows with Incite when they first started. Like, Incite opened for Autumn's End at the Clubhouse, I remember one time. And
so he started from the ground up.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is Glow makes those kids work. They have to earn it, I mean, granted, you'll get your feet put to the fire. Like, you'll get to go do tours that, like say, if you and I started a band, you would probably not get to do. But, I don't fault them for that, because if it was your dad and you could go on tour, you would fucking do it,
Yeah.
And
I'm sure if, it was bad music, they wouldn't allow it. You know what
exactly.
I mean? So,
and
because they're not going to ruin their brand.
Exactly.
Whatever, so.
No, exactly. And so, and sometimes I feel like Richie has to work extra hard compared to like his brothers, I think sometimes.
He seems like a hustler. He seems like he's always hustling.
He is. He is the hardest working dude in metal. I'll put it up against anybody else, because especially when I first joined the band, like, it wasn't until we were like a month in where like he did all the driving. Like, he would get up. Let's say we had to get up at 11. We would, we'd sleep at a truck stop, get up 11, drive however many 100 miles to get to this show. And then he does all the merch. And if it's like a family tour, like a Soulfly Incite tour, he does their merch. So he's doing our merch and he's doing Soulfly's merch. And, so Incite's got like 4 or 5 shirts maybe and a couple CDs, and then Soulfly's got 15.
Yeah.
But that's like his like Zen moment, that's when his quiet time, don't bother me. And, he's very good at it. But he'll do all the merch, and then he's got to take care of all the band biz, and then he's got to settle up at night, and,
He's working 24/7.
Yeah. And so like he died of shock, one night you could just tell he was getting burnt, and I'm like, dude, if you need me to drive, I'll drive. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, and
that's dope.
Yeah,
That's cool.
And like I said, they have to work. It's not this like he has not been given a free ride. I'm just gonna bottom line, he is not given a free ride. And we have worked really fucking hard to get to that point. And it's finally gotten to a point where, like, that name is not necessarily associated with the band. It's not like, you know, I used to get mad when we do these, like, you know, our own tour, like headline tour, and the poster, you know, they write on the posters, son of Max Cavalera.
Yeah.
So it's like, why does it have to be that?
Like the club's doing it. Now it's stupid.
It's just like, let it stand on its own merit, you know, and it's gotten to the point now where, you know, that it doesn't happen, or like radio stations, when our records come out, they don't even know, or they don't until they way after the fact, you know. So it's finally, you know, starting to
That's dope.
come around, you know.
Do you have any good funny stories from that first tour that you can tell?
Probably. The US tour, you know, it was just kind of a blur, just because, like I said, you know, I had toured, but, you know, when you're like the Autumn's End, like we did 1 or 2 tours that were maybe like a week long, and this was like 10 weeks, I think, 8 to 10 weeks, and just super fucking long. So I was just like, you know, it was where I finally got to put all these things I had learned to the test. Like, you know, because there's a lot of unspoken road rules and shit like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so it's just navigating through all that, not stepping on anybody's toes and not pissing anybody off. And, you know, there's plenty of things like, there was a time where, you know, when you do, there's like an unspoken rule. If you're the opening bands, unless they tell you no, you always help load and unload headliners band's gear, right? And so, you know, of course we do it, but
So who was the headliner? It was
Soulfly.
Soulfly.
So Richie, like, we got there a few minutes late, and he saw that when you see the trailer door down, that means it's go. And we like parked the van behind this dumpster, and we watched them all, like, we just got high and watched them load in. And, you know, and then it wasn't until a couple months later, you know, or a year later, Kenny, who's Max's guitar tech, and he's like kind of like stage manager, he was, you know, he gets mad like on the quick, but you know, he's like, where the fuck were you guys, and what the fuck, you know, you should have been here at noon. And we're like, oh, sorry, dog, you know, traffic, or, you know, we just woke up late, time change, we fucked up. And a year later, like, Richie had posted this picture of the van behind this dumpster, and he's like, oh, this is the dumpster we hid behind and missed load in. And Kenny sees it, he's like, you fucking assholes. You know, there was a bunch of shit like that. On that tour, I didn't have a passport yet. I had never needed a passport. And so I had a big hassle because I was not born in America. And so it was like this big rigmarole to get it. So in this tour, me and Richie's brother, Jason, we had to come home twice because he couldn't get into Canada for whatever legal reason when he was a youth, you know, but
Canada's harsh, man.
They are, man. So we had to fly home twice, you know, and
Do you have to cancel shows because of that?
No. Oh. They had so they do these that's what it was, a Maximum Cavalera tour.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like Soulfly, Incite, and then at the time it was Richie's little brother's band, Igor's band, Lodi Kong. And so John, the guitar player for Lodi Kong, filled in for me on the shows. So the funny story would be I didn't really smoke weed all that much. I still don't, but like up until I got in this band, I hadn't smoked weed in probably like 10 years, maybe a little less, but it's just not really my thing. And, you know, they all smoke weed, you know, whatever. And like the very first night, or the night before the tour started, Kenny had come into the Soulfly, you know, rehearsal space. He was getting Max's rig all together and everything. And, you know, they're firing it up, and he tries to pass me this joint. And I'm like, oh, I'm cool, man. No, he's like, no, you're not. He's like, fuck this guy, Richie. I don't trust him. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I just don't, I don't really smoke. He's like, no, fuck that.
That's the stage manager guy.
Yeah, Kenny, and he's a big dude. You know, he's like 6'4", I think.
Were you like nervous or like
No,
just you
I
know he was
just like,
joking or?
yeah, well, I didn't know he was joking. I know him now, and yes, he's joking. But you know, I was just like,
That's
dude.
funny as fuck.
Oh, dude.
I want to steal.
I want to
that.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't trust this guy.
Yeah, he's like, dude. He's like, are you a fucking cop? He's like, fuck that. And so then they knew I didn't really smoke weed, and I said, you know, and you know, Igor's brother's like, oh, you want to blaze, man? I'm like, no, I'm good. The whole tour, you know. And this was like the first like 2 weeks, and Richie's little brother Igor, who I call him the old man because he's like a 700-year-old wizard in a little kid's body, and he was always up my hoop about it. He's like, come on, man, let's get high. I'm like, oh, I'm cool, bro. And we were on our way to Oregon, and after a show, he's like, dude, El, come on, hit that shit, man. He's like, you don't have shit to fucking do tomorrow. We have a day off, man. Come on. And I'm like, all right, man. So I fucking smoked.
Peer pressure.
Yeah, dude, like a motherfucker, you know? And so, you know, I'm like, finally caved. And then they were on me like, oh, come on, man. And then it was just a thing where I would only smoke after a show. And so.
It's like a ritual now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, not so much anymore, but.
Well, it sounds like you partook in a ritual recently, so you still have rituals. That's a good thing.
We had talked before we started this. I've been on the wagon up until that point. So we were on tour with Cryptopsy in Europe, and we were in Switzerland, and we were in this. Europeans' idea of an SUV and American idea of an SUV is vastly different. So when you think an SUV, you know, you think like these like big like 80s Blazers and Broncos or, you know, whatever. And they're in these like mini, you know, everything's smaller. So we were in this like little SUV, and all of our gear, we couldn't even like, me and Drew, the guitar player, we couldn't even see each other because our gear went clear to the driver's seats. And we were pulling out of this driveway because we were going to go to our hotel. And this car, this Audi, cuts us off in this alley. And I'm like, holy shit, are we going to get into a fight? Because these dudes jumped out. But they're in like, you know, police riot gear. We're like, what the fuck? So they come to the door, you know, and Richie's the only one that drove because you have to get like all these permits and bullshit to drive over there. So he's like, let me see your papers. Gives him his passport, gives him the rental thing and his driving permit. And he's like, have you been drinking? He's like, no, man, I'm good. He's like, are you lying? And he's like, no, man. And keep in mind, it was like 32 degrees out, and Richie's always in fucking shorts. So he pulls him out of the car. He's like, I think you're lying. And he's like, no, man. And he makes him do the field sobriety test. It was like being in America almost, you know, like field sobriety test, makes him blow into the thing. He, you know, doesn't blow dirty. And he's like, well, have you been, you know, smoking marijuana? He's like, no. You know, he's like, because, you know, he's like,
but it was a lie.
It was a total lie. Yeah. However, it had been a while. And he's like, well, we're going to find out. And he swabs his mouth. And like over in Europe, at least, they have this
we were talking about this the other day. Like, is there a way?
Dude, this is
kidding?
Crazy. It was like a little like litmus paper thing. They swabbed his mouth. And he's like, we'll know in 8 minutes if you're lying. And he puts it into this little like Star Trek tricorder thing. And it's all, you know, he's waiting for it. And we're in the fucking car just like, and Richie's like,
you feel like he's fucked.
Yeah, well, and Richie's texting me. He's like, dude, take off. And I'm like, we're in fucking Europe, dude. This isn't fucking Daytona Beach.
In that minivan thing?
Yeah.
With all the gear?
Yeah. I'm like, dude, no. You know, and so basically, yeah. I'm like, we're not taking off. And, you know, basically he said, you know, he's like, dude, it's going to come back dirty. He's like, number one, I live in Las Vegas where weed is legal. Number two, we just had a week off in Amsterdam where weed is legal. And he's like, it's going to come back dirty no matter what. And he's like, yeah, well, we'll see. And of course it did.
He's like, we've never seen
a
meter like this high.
So, and we were kind of panicking because I think we did have weed on us. Because, you know, we had heard that weed was legal in Switzerland, and it's not that it's legal, it's just not.
Well, when you're we said
tolerated.
earlier, when you're in a foreign country being pulled over, that is
Yeah.
very frightening.
Oh, dude. And we're just like, shit. And then they were like, have you been smoking? I'm the only one that hadn't, I think. And it had been like a day or two, you know, but it still would have been in my system. And they basically said, you know, okay, you blew dirty. This is what's going to happen. He's like, if you guys promise to park your van, you can leave and you can go to your hotel. If you call a cab, basically. And we're taking him to a hospital to do a blood draw. And
Fuck.
And leave your gear?
well, yeah, technically, right?
Yeah, like fuck that.
So then we lied, of course. We drove the van back to the venue and we went inside. And we're like, hey, you know, they just took Richie away, you know, and they're like, fuck, what are you guys going to do? I'm like, well, we're going to go to our fucking hotel because we have the keys. And they said he's going to, you know, be able
get
to
some sleep.
Yeah. Well, Drew, our guitar player at the time, was all freaked out. And I think he just wanted to party. He wouldn't get in the van. And me and Lennon are just like, are we going to do this? And fuck yeah. So we had one of the waitresses take our van around the block to the front of the club to make sure there weren't any other, you know, because like in America, they'll be in pairs, you know.
Yeah.
On the side of the road. Well, we're cool. So we had 12 miles to go. And that was the most white knuckle 12 miles, you know, to get to our hotel, you know, in a foreign country.
And was that your first tour in Europe?
No, this was like last year.
Oh.
Yeah.
This
was
might be a
last
dumb
year.
question, but do you drive on the right side of the road there?
In Europe, it's normal.
It's
It's
normal?
It's
Okay,
in like UK where
UK.
it's the right side, which is mind fuck.
Yeah.
But you know, and this was like 1 o'clock by the time we get to our hotel, and you know, Gloria's calling me like, "What the fuck's going on?" You know, and I'm like, "I don't know, Glo. They took him away. He's going to the hospital, and blah blah blah." And finally, at like 4:30, here comes Rich. She's like, "Hey, I'm out front. Come let me in." And so what happened was they took him to this hospital. They gave him a blood test, and then he had to do a 90-minute psych evaluation.
Are you kidding me?
Did a 90-minute psych
Because
evaluation.
he tested positive for the cannabis?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
They take it that serious?
Oh, yeah. But this is where it gets fucked. So they say, and they have like 24-hour judges, I guess.
Damn.
So they said, you know.
So he already had his like sentence and everything?
Yeah, well, kind of. They said, well, this is your first offense, but because we don't believe you that you're going to pay this fine, they're going to charge you the max. So they fleeced us for $3,000.
Oh, jeez.
Fleeced us for $3,000. He had to take this dumb psychological evaluation where he's just like, you know, he said it was the most
They
ridiculous.
just ask a bunch of questions?
Yeah,
and-
like, what about your family? And are you depressed all the time? You know, just goofy shit like that. And then they told him he's not allowed to drive in Switzerland ever again. He's like,
Oh, so he got his permit revoked? And...
well, you know, it's just basically like a permit, yeah, to like drive in Europe.
So who was able to drive after that?
Well, in Switzerland it was fine because we left Switzerland.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what was funny is like after that tour, he was gonna have to go back because he was doing a Soulfly. He was just doing merch for Soulfly on a tour, and he was like wondering like if they were gonna fuck with him when he got to the border and stuff. You know,
His name pops up.
yeah. You
I
know?
want to know what that machine is that they
Right?
test with, because like how far does it go back to test THC in your system?
Yeah,
like
right.
for
Fucking-
48 hours? a
Yeah,
week?
like fucking space age, man.
Have you seen those things before?
Never, dude. That was crazy because we were just talking about that the other day. Like, I wonder if they have something yet that can, because
I knew
it's
that they
getting
were
ready to
working.
be legal here
Yeah.
in Arizona. And
Yep.
one of the things they're gonna freak out about is
You mean make money off of?
and make monies off of
Yeah.
is DUIs. You
Off
know
of
what I
it, yeah.
mean? And so how are the cops gonna know that somebody's not just,
Yeah.
you know, because weed stays in your system a while, so you could have been smoking on the
Yeah, like
weekend.
in Vegas.
yeah,
Like he was, yeah.
exactly. So like it's gonna be really weird how that happens, and I never knew that they had those machines.
We didn't either. That was I'm like, what is this bullshit, man? Are they making this up? But
How do you guys ship your gear over there, or do you rent gear?
no, it depending on the tour, it's one of the things we like our first year, or at least the first European tour that I did. Like you learn these like drummers learn these tricks of like packing their kit down to nothing.
Yeah,
you know,
just really minimizing.
yeah. And so our first couple tours we did that. And then as time has gone on, bands, in an effort to save money and time and all that, like the tour package basically will throw in on a backline, so like,
So everyone shares.
yeah. Or maybe it'll be like the headliner will have a kit and then all the support bands will have a kit.
Yeah.
But like usually the backline, all the amps.
That sounds like it just would make everything go so much faster.
Yeah,
as far as
America needs to
and...
catch up on that,
No shit.
just because, I know.
Well, everyone here just doesn't want to play anything else but their own.
Yeah,
equipment,
and see,
especially drummers. And,
yeah. And you know what? And I get that. But, when you're coming up or like I said, you're overseas, it's kind of like beggars can't be choosers.
You got to do what you got to do.
So I remedy it. I would always bring my guitars. I bring 2 guitars.
Yeah, so at least you have your own bass.
Yeah. So I have my own basses, my own pedal board, and I have an amp that fits in my backpack, and it's universal power. So all I got to do is put the right, and I have like a plug for US, I have a plug for Europe, and I have a plug for UK, and I bring them accordingly. So
what are the fans like in Europe as compared to the US?
Rabid compared to the US. This is what's cool about Europe is they love music, period. But like as far as metal, they love metal. It's like they're not like as elitist as like American kids have become. Like it's like they like Bring Me the Horizon and they like Gorgoroth.
They like everything.
They
where
like everything
fans
in
are more
between.
particular.
And if they have a ticket to a show, they're coming to a show. They're not showing up to see the headliner and then they're going to the show. They want to see all the fucking bands and they want to drink and party.
Yeah.
It's just so different. I mean, as far as like fan interaction is the same, but they're just like way more passionate. They buy music they want.
And they know every band that shows up.
Oh, what? Or if they don't, that's how you make
it,
instant fan. Because that was the thing that really bummed us out about the whole pandemic bullshit. Is we had done this European UK tour, and it was the first headline tour we had done since the first time I had done it. That was awful, like crowd wise and stuff, because we didn't really have any business doing it at the time, but we just wanted to see where the band was, and like the first tour, which was like 2015, it was, there'd be like 3 or 4 people there, whatever. And then this last time we went, there would be like 100, 150 kids, and, and granted, and they were in these little tiny joints. So it looked like crazy, and it was crazy, but like
those were the funnest shows though.
Oh, hell
those
yeah.
small fucking clubs.
Those are the
packed.
ones you remember the most.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
So, we were starting to see our, name build and stuff. And like kids were coming in our shirts and like our friends would be on tour like, oh, dude, we saw this kid, Incite shirt, at this festival or whatever, so we were starting to see it grow. And then it was like,
yeah, that's got to be hard, man.
Yeah, it was a bummer. Super bummer. But, I think once we can get back going again, I think we'll be all right.
Well, like you said, it wasn't, hopefully it wasn't too bad because we should be getting some really good albums coming out soon.
Oh, yeah.
Like you
I
said,
didn't even
all
thought
you
about
guys
that,
are
but yeah, you're right.
recording and
Oh, yeah.
you guys got hopefully new music coming out soon. And
Yeah, hopefully by spring.
How long does it take to record and track all that stuff?
It just depends. Like,
well, the 5 songs, for example.
like we did that we did 3 days of pre-production where we just went to a studio and Steve, which was nice because it was actually right across the street from his studio and it was super nice.
When you do the pre-production, are the songs already written or are you still figuring them out?
We had them fleshed out. There was like 2 songs that were like, had just like way too many parts and we knew it. And we're just like, well, we'll just play them as is. And, because of course Steve's going to come in and be like, chop this, do this, try this. And so we had 3 that were pretty fleshed out and 2 that were a mishmash.
Really quick, when he's producing like that and he's telling you to do that, if you guys disagree,
Oh, you know what?
Like, how does that work? Do you just listen to everything he says?
No,
or is
because
it like, you know what? I don't really
it's-
agree with you on that.
It's a debate because there was like, I was wondering when we did Oppression with him, and I remember there was a song that I fucking feel bad I can't remember the name of the fucking song, but it had this really cool part, and it was the whole reason I love the song. And he's like, well, maybe we should just do this instead. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, okay. But it was eating at me. And so finally the next day, pre-production, I'm like, dude, I think we should go back and do this, but maybe try that. Because I'm like, I don't like this. You just killed the song for me. And I think you just killed the vibe of the song. And he was like, well, okay, let's try it again. And we made a couple little modifications. And it's, you know, it's never been a huge fight with him because he gets what we're trying to do. And we're not so arrogant that we think we know, oh, this is our fucking song, you can't tell us what to do. But we trust him, you know, especially now. This is like our third time with him, and he just knows us as people and players, and he knows what we're after. And he's never given us suggestion that we like second guess later on, like, oh, I wish we hadn't have done that, you know. And especially this last time around, we got a new guitar player who is fucking amazing. And
Yeah, how did that come about?
You know, to not get into it too much, all I'm going to say is, you know, Drew, we're about the band, and Drew's about Drew. He's, you know, and that's just the easiest way to put it, you know. From the get-go, because me and Lennon, the drummer, we got into the band at the same time because everybody had kind of quit on Richie all at once. Like, I'm not doing this anymore, or I quit, whatever. And he's just like, fuck, I got this tour booked. I got to get some dudes. And he had already known Lennon from a previous tour. And so ever since then, it's been us three. And we had, you know.
It's like about since 2013, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since that time, then there was like Dis, the original guitar player, who he lived in Jersey and he just needed to focus on his family. He came back very briefly and he helped us write, you know. And then we had this kid, Gene, from when I first joined the band. And he was just, I think he was just too young because he was like, I think he was barely 21. He might not even been 21 yet. And he was too young. He wasn't on the same page as us. So then we got Drew. And he wasn't my first choice, but he fit at the time. He was a good player. He had good stage presence.
How'd you guys find him?
Well, I had known him because he was in a local band here, and we had played shows together.
What band was that?
He was in Viviside.
Oh, Viviside, okay.
Yeah. And when I was in Autumn's End, we had Dylan Troxel, who was our drummer, and he was the drummer for Viviside, too. And that's how I'd met him, and he kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And then he came and tried out, and I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, you know, but me and him had to have our own private meeting where we discussed some things, and he got the job.
Like adults do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, but through the course of him being in the band, it just was apparent that this just wasn't going to work just because he was just getting... He's a narcissist. And I mean, I hate to be like,
no, there's a lot of people that are out there like it. We all know people that, you know,
a lot of artists too.
Yeah, that a lot of artists, you know, if it's not, and this isn't necessary, I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing or whatever, but if it's not about them, they don't want to do it.
Well, you know, and it's just one of those things. He's a great player. It just, you know, sometimes shit just don't work out.
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand how hard it is to maintain a band.
Dude.
And I explain it like, I used to be in a 5-piece, weird bullshit, but like, it's like having 4 extra girlfriends, but not only do you fight and bicker with them, they fight and bicker with each other, and you're in the middle of all of it, and it's constant.
Well, you know, it's just an age.
But once you find a bunch of good guys that you're having fun with and writing, I mean, there's nothing like it. It's
just one of them things. Sometimes, like you say, it's hard to keep bands together, and sometimes it just doesn't work. You know, or it doesn't work anymore. And we just needed a change, you know? So
how did you find the new guy, the new guitar player?
Eli, he was in Holy Grail.
Eli. Oh, yeah. Oh.
And, you know, we were like, became super good friends with those dudes because they're super rad. And he's just an awesome dude. And I'm like, we should be in a band with that guy, you know? So he was kind of always, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm like, that's the dude. That's the dude. And when we decided we needed to make a change, that's the dude. And we called him, and he thought about it, and he's like, yeah, let's do it, And
No audition or anything, just
no, because
you already knew.
that dude does demos for ESP, so we know he can play.
Yeah.
And we and like I said, we'd seen him play, and he's just a
shred.
Yeah, he's just a shredder. So
he had a part in the new songs that you guys wrote?
Yeah, most definitely.
I can't wait to hear it,
and that's what was cool is like we all, me and him especially, we click on a music level. Like if I said, dude, play something kind of At the Gates-ish right there, or play something kind of Bolt Thrower-ish, right? He would know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's certain music lingo sometimes musicians have that you kind of...
and he we kind of have a similar, I think we have a similar taste in music, so it worked really well. And to be fair, Lennon, the drummer, who apparently also can play guitar fairly well, he wrote a couple, like the chunk of a couple of these songs.
Nice.
They were like his riffs, and so yeah, he's
so you guys are just sending riffs to each other.
Yeah. So usually how it would work is like Lennon is like the tech savvy dude, so he like sets up our Dropbox, and here's a folder for finished songs, here's a folder for riffs, here's a folder for drums, and so how it would work is like Eli would send some riffs, or he would like in this case, he had these riffs, and since he plays drums, he would program his drums because he couldn't play his drums from his living situation at the time. He didn't have any place to set them up, so he did all the drums on program, and then he would put these songs together and be like, well, this is cool, but we should do this here instead, and then we just send notes back and forth,
start arranging it.
Yeah.
And then back to the pre-production one in there, are you guys also like finding tones and things like that during that time, or?
Well, no, because we know what we sound like, I think.
Well, I mean, maybe pick mics, or I don't know.
That stuff is over my head, like as far as like pre-production, it's just, that's like being in the, it's like being in the jam room, only there's this dude that gets paid a lot of money to tell you whether you suck or not.
I see.
You know what I mean? And then once we had the songs dialed in, and this is what I like, the way Steve works is we set up in the drum room and we play direct while Lennon is playing drums. So we're doing basically doing scratch guitars and stuff while Lennon is actually tracking.
Yeah.
So, and Steve is not one of these dudes that's like, oh, we'll just punch this in and, we'll take this part and duplicate it. You have to play
The whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he might
that gives it more soul, man.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
When you do that shit, it just is too computerized and
Yeah.
it just loses the heart.
And, and so, yeah, it would be a case of Lennon would play the song a couple times through, and then there might be a part or two. He's like, okay, I'm going to punch you in. You're going to play
Does it
this
fix
part.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, but it was never like, I'm going to cut and paste.
Yeah.
None of it is cut and paste. You have to play, and I like that. I mean, I put a lot of pressure on myself every time because I'm just like, oh, I hate recording. I'm not a good player.
Recording's stressful.
Oh, dude, it sucks. I hate it. But this was the first time in a long time where I felt the most prepared, and I wasn't like...
You had time?
Well, we've always had time, but I'm just like I said, I'm not a good musician, so sometimes it'll take me a minute to
It's because when you're recording, you could hear every fuck up, and people
Oh,
are literally paying attention to every little thing you
Oh,
do.
yeah.
And when you're playing with your band and you're jamming, you can kind of get away with shit, you
yeah.
know?
Distortion
Because
is
I have that same exact nerves, man.
Distortion is an amazing blanket. It covers up everything, But this time around, and plus, I enjoy working with Steve because he doesn't put pressure on me, and he's actually a bass player, so he knows where my strengths and weaknesses are, and I think he plays to that. He's like, well, you should try this, and don't do that because it's gonna sound muddy. He's like, do this, and I'm like, oh, cool.
Like different ways of playing the riff,
Yeah,
even?
yeah,
Wow, that's cool.
And it's really been a cool working with him because he, like I said, he understands the type of player that I am, and he plays to those strengths, and he's actually helped me with my technique on a lot of shit.
Made you a better bass player.
Oh, for sure.
I wanted to tell Brian really quick because Steve Evans, right? That's
Yeah.
his name. He's done Hatebreed, Glassjaw, He Is Legend, The Cure, Suicide Silence, Dillinger Escape Plan. The
What
guy's
Cure
fucking.
album did he do?
I don't have the Cure album down,
Okay.
but
I can't
fucking, he's done
remember.
some fucking shit. Dude.
It's a
Wow.
He's a
more
bad-
recent one, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I trip out every time I go into his studio and I see that. I'm like,
Is that the studio that you guys posted recently on your Facebook? Those
Yeah.
pictures. Yeah,
it's called
a
the
dope-
Omen Room.
It's in Cali.
Yeah, that place is rad.
I love hearing about that. Dave Grohl did a documentary, and Keith is you're the one that actually showed me this. The documentary he did where he went and they recorded at different studios,
Yeah.
and they talked about the history of the different studios and that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love hearing about
History of shit.
and I love hearing about the recording sessions and like when it's personal and people love working
The
with
vibe
certain
there,
because of
yeah.
the vibe. Yeah,
Like fucking Abbey Road. Studios
exactly.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah, and that place it's really cool. It's in a cool little part of town that you would never expect it to be, and it's just a cool little spot, good vibe. Steve makes it a good vibe, and yeah, he's done some really cool stuff. Like, fun fact, he had just gotten done doing Greg Puciato's solo thing, the singer for Dillinger.
Yeah.
Wow.
He had just got done doing that. Like, they're pretty tight, and he actually let us borrow some guitar cabs for our record because,
I'm sure he has all kinds of gear that you
Yeah.
guys can use.
yeah.
Like Byron. Byron has his shit.
Oh my God, Byron's got everything you ever.
That's
want.
another example of someone who's like you. He came in and would make my fucking tone and gear sound way better. He'd be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
try this head, try this. I'm like, holy shit, that sounds amazing.
That's one thing I miss. Like, we were gonna maybe try and do our record with him, but we're so used to work. If it wasn't a case of needing that extra ear, because Byron will even freely admit he's definitely more of an engineer than he is a producer per se. We tried to have him do it, but we needed that producer's
Oh,
ear.
for sure. I know what you're saying.
And
That's very important to get that outside ear because you get so caught up in your own shit and
you're
mix
like, oh,
and the
this
writing.
is awesome. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, dude, it's not. It could be better,
Exactly. Yeah.
And but I do miss working over there because, like, Hill Frankenstein. Yeah, because Hill Frankenstein, some of the most craziest guitar rigs you ever seen.
Fuck yeah. Did you record there with Autumn's End? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twice. Yeah, and it's Byron, so it's always a good time.
Fuck yeah. Did you have a question?
No, go for
I was gonna say I saw that you guys played the Gathering of the Juggalos.
We did not play that.
Oh,
per
I thought
se.
you played that.
No,
My
like
bad.
that was actually the first Incite tour that I did. Soulfly played it, and because we were on tour with them, we just hung out.
I see. My
and
bad.
like I ended up, helping crew that day.
I was just wondering what one of those events is even like.
dude. Oh my!
I mean, Juggalos.
You can watch that thing on YouTube. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's a little mini documentary.
I think I've seen it with some Juggalo shit.
Yeah, and it is that, but without the smell.
Because those fans are fucking hardcore.
Without the smell.
Dude, it was crazy. Like, of course I'm not into that music and whatever, but yeah, they're fucking maniacal. But in their defense, they are all super, there wasn't, no fighting, it's just a chill vibe, just a bunch of rednecks out there whooping it up and doing drugs and
Drinking that soda. What's that soda?
Fago, yeah.
Dude, they're at this fair. I don't know. It's like a campground thing. I don't know if I own it anymore, but they have the Full Terra Assault out there now, so the spot is really cool. So when it was the Gathering thing, they have like a big main stage that's like gigantic. It's like you're in Kiss or something. Like, it's really like elevated. Like, it must
You're
be.
like this.
Yeah, like you have to almost stand back from it. Like, if you wanted to like just watch the band, you'd have to kind of stand back a little bit because otherwise, yeah, you're doing this. And
Because
then
you
they
just
have-
want to get the soda thrown on you.
yeah. And I just remember it was crazy because there's like a stream that runs alongside one of the stages. And there's like this bridge, and they have the drug bridge. So there's literally on one side of it, there's just all these dudes sitting like, like they're at the swap meet with their little
And those
blanket.
juggalos like to get fucked up.
Dude. There was a guy that had like a hot dog vendor thing, the little box. I don't know what you call that thing. But he was like he was hawking hot dogs. He's like, he's like, Percocet, Vicodin, Oxycontin, come get your Oxy.
fucking-
Yeah. There was a dude like, giving blasts of like lithium and shit off a tank. And
Damn.
oh, dude, it was so. There was a kid that OD'd. Like they had to like, and the thing is like cops can't come on there unless they're asked to.
Was it like private property or something?
Yeah, it said like when you drive in, there's a sign on this post, and it says, enter all activities on this property at your own risk because federal laws do not apply here.
It's like the dog park.
Yeah, dude, it was fucking.
They have the same sign.
It's wild, and a kid OD'd, and so they had to have like the.
I mean, he survived.
Yeah,
right?
as far as I know. I think
That's
if he,
wild.
yeah, I think if he had died, they probably would have shut that down.
Oh yeah.
But what was crazy is when we left, like I said, there's like this stream. You have to cross this bridge, and if you looked out past the fence, like if you went to the edge of the property, there was just sheriff's deputies lined up, waiting for people to come out.
Oh, that's a trap.
Oh, dude, so crazy.
Where does this take place at again?
That is it's called Cave in Rock, Michigan.
Ah,
Right,
Michigan.
it's like
Cave
kinda,
in?
yeah, Cave
I wonder
in
if
Rock.
that band gets their Cave in.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere kind of near Chicago, but probably maybe like 100 and something miles outside of Chicago, maybe. I'm not quite sure, but because you get lost out there. But
Is there any bands that you've played with that are bands that you just cannot believe that they're so good, they're so badass that you cannot believe have not just blown up yet?
I'm gonna need to write these down because I'm looking for new music.
Yeah.
no, because you know what? I mean, and nothing against any of these bands, but most of the bands that we've toured with I've already like pretty established, I mean, I guess maybe Tombs. There's this band Tombs that we're homies with. We toured with them and Crowbar, and I'm surprised they're not probably bigger than they are. But,
Crowbar's bad as fuck. I've been listening to Crowbar since
yeah.
the 90s, dude.
But Tombs they're a really good like American black metal band. You want to talk about busy during the pandemic? They put out 2 records
Wow.
in 2020.
Wow.
Yeah, super rad band. But maybe them.
Is there any band?
You know what? I take that back. There is a band we toured with, and actually their last record, they got a lot of really good reviews. The band called Lord Dying.
Lord Dying.
Yeah,
Sweet.
they have toured with Crowbar as well. That's how I saw them first. And then we toured with them in Europe, and with them and the Cancer Bats. And Lord Dying, I'm surprised they're not bigger, but they got fucked last year because they got on tour with Black Label. And I think if they could have completed that tour, because I think they only got to play like 5 shows and then the pandemic hit. Like, I think they would have fucking blown up because they're fucking rad.
That's how I feel about Within the Ruins. I don't know if you ever heard of them. This is the fucking baddest band on the planet. I don't understand how they're not the biggest fucking metal band out right now.
Where are they from?
They're from Massachusetts, but I swear to God, the guitar player has to be from another planet because the riffs that he comes up with are just fucking mind blowing. I'll play them for you after the show and shit.
Cool.
But I just don't know.
I mean, the name sounds familiar, but
they just came out with a new album a few weeks ago.
yeah,
Actually,
I'll have to check them out.
Speaking of Crowbar, though, I know you got the singer of Crowbar and the dude from Cannibal Corpse, Chris Barnes, on your last album. How's that come about?
Well, because we toured with them, like
just a friendship over time.
Yeah, like we toured with Crowbar, and those guys are like the coolest dudes, and Kirk's wife Robin, she's just awesome, and we just kind of bro down with those guys, and then as far as like Chris Barnes, we did 2. They don't tour the U.S. really. 6 Feet Under, they don't tour in the U.S. anymore really, and they do 2 tours a year, one at Christmas time and then one in the spring. And the Christmas one's always called Christmas in Hell, and it's like a 10-day thing in Europe. And we got on that one time and, you know, had a really good time. Chris Barnes gave us a shout out on fucking Twitter, which is super fucking rad, you know, and then they asked us if we wanted to do it the next year, and we were like direct support, which was even cooler, you know, and, you know, Rich just hit him up and said, hey, would you want to sing on this track? And
Dude, this fucking track's bad as fuck.
yeah, and those, like I said, these are just super cool. Yeah, I really like, those are two of my favorite songs on that record, is the ones that they do. You know.
I always hear, you know, bands and then they have like a, you know, a guest vocalist. I always like, how does that come about? I mean, I always assume that they're friends, but you just hit them up, or you guys are just jamming one day, or
yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, it's like, oh, we should have so and so sing on a track. You know, it'd be cool to have so and so. You know,
yeah,
and you know, I think that really kind of came about because, you know, Max does that a lot.
mm-hmm.
You know. And he gets asked to do shit all the time, you know. Like he did that band Nails. He had done
He was one of the, seems like the very first to do an in-metal when he did on the Deftones album back in the day. Like, I don't remember anyone else doing that before that. And then
especially
he had Jonathan
Soulfly
Davis
record,
on Roots.
or second Soulfly record too.
Yeah, and then the Soulfly record, there's all kinds of guys.
well, even on the first one,
Grady
he had,
from Willhaven was on a bunch of.
Grady.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's just a matter of, you know, dudes, especially when you get to that stature, like Max, you know, dudes are like, hey, come sing on this, you know, like, because he just did that body count thing too, you know. And
oh yeah, body count's back. I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy. That is nuts.
Yeah, Ice-T.
And especially in Max's case, that dude listens to music 24/7. He's always got headphones on. He's always like,
he's in it.
Oh, he is way in it. He's not one of the, that's what I really like about him, is he's never like stuck in his, like, let's say his era. Like, he'll only listen to bands from that era. He is always looking for the new shit. Like, you know, we'll, you know, see each other. Oh, what are you listening to? You know, and I'm like, oh, have you checked out this? He's like, oh, you should check out this. And
that's what we talk about sometimes. We feel like we're getting old because we don't do that as much, but we used to constantly be trying to find new bands and new music. And so when guests come on, I'm always asking them some new music that they're listening to, because I guess I'm lazy. I don't know.
Yeah, like the last Soulfly tour we did, I remember Max, he's like, hey, I got homework for you. He's like, I want, you know, give me your 10 favorite black metal bands. I'm like, okay, easy, you know. And he was telling him that he had Terrence Hobbs from Suffocation. He had asked him, saying, he's like, oh, give me your top 10 death metal bands. He's like, I'm still waiting for my homework assignment, you know, and he never gave it to me, but I had it to him, you know, the next day. I'm like, here you go.
That's dope. He just hands out homework assignments.
Well, he's just because he wants to see if there's something he hasn't heard yet,
Yeah.
you know, and because he wants to hear it, you know, he wants to see. That's what I love about him. He's always trying to, you know, stay current, I guess, not relevant, because he's always relevant, but he wants to be current. He wants to hear what is going on, you know, and I'm kind of like that, you know, like there's a lot of music I can't fucking stand, but I'm always like, I'll listen to something.
It feels like it's harder and harder though to find good, really good new current stuff. I'll be honest.
You know what? I have to disagree to the point where you just have to kind of, as much as I despise them, like Spotify, I have it for work because it's like you can play it and
it's convenient.
You can play a whole record.
Yeah.
Well, and what's cool about them at least is like let's say, like me, I listen to a lot of black metal. So let's say I'm listening to a Gorgoroth record, and you can click on this thing and it says fans also like, and then it'll give you like 15 bands, and I'll check this out. I'll check this, you know, and that's how I, you know, find a lot of music. And then, you know, just from touring, you know, you'll hear, oh, you should check this band out. Oh, you should.
Yeah, you get exposed a lot.
Yeah, but like if you're like a teenager, I mean, that's how you're gonna.
Well, when you're a teenager, it's so different now. Like you have to do it on Spotify. Like we were talking about earlier, before you go into a, you know, Zia Records and you just buy it because the album looked fucking cool.
Well, exactly.
That
was an experience though. Like the
smell of Zia, just the fucking.
Dude.
See, I grew up in Tucson, and there were 3 places to get cool metal records. There used to be this place called LS Goodies, and it was a head shop, but in the front was just like everything metal. They had a cool record section with a lot of imports and then T-shirts.
It's like
and,
shirts and things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but way smaller. Like we're talking probably as big as this room. And then there was Toxic Ranch, but they catered more to like punk stuff. And there was Rex Records when I was a kid, also a little bit more punk, but you could find cool metal shit. And then PDQ, that was my day or weekend ritual. Me and my buddies would ride the bus down to this place called PDQ, and at the time, it was the largest used record store in North America.
Wow.
Oh, damn.
And I would just like save up my lunch money or whatever, and me and my buddies would go there and just troll through these bins for hours, because they had new music, they had imports, bootlegs, and then they had a whole nother room that was just like $2 bin. And
my favorite part going into those stores was you head straight to the new used stock.
Yeah,
you want to hit that new used stock as fast as possible, man, because it's where you find all those diamonds in the rough.
Oh yeah,
I love that shit. And you don't even really have to do that anymore, because it's the way that we get our music now is so easy. And I think maybe that is the problem. You said that maybe we're just lazy, and I think that we kind of are. There are a couple bands that I find
it's like
every
the most
year,
convenient than ever. Too.
Yeah. There are a couple bands a year that I find that just blow me away. That absolutely. But there used to be would be 10, 15 bands a year I would hear that would just be amazing, and I don't get that anymore. It's probably because maybe I'm just not.
Well, the thing is like, but that, like we were saying earlier, that experience is gone.
Yes.
I mean, you can go to Zia, I guess.
It's a toy store
It's
now.
a toy store.
Yeah, but there aren't, like, at least not here. I mean, there's a couple.
There's stinkweeds.
Yeah, there's stinkweeds in Eastside, or the Ghost of Eastside, whatever they call it now.
I don't think you can even go in there now with all the bullshit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That it's kind of been killed for that.
I know.
And it's really hard for me when we go to Europe, especially because there's a lot of record stores in Europe, but I stay out of them because I don't want to spend my money on it. Because I know I'll
you got to ship all this shit back.
Well, yeah, and then it's like, how am I going to carry this home? I don't want it to get fucked up. But it depends. Like every once in a while, like I'll make it a point, like, oh, I'm going to LA, so I'm gonna go record shopping, or
Yeah,
there's certain places you go to at certain cities.
Yeah,
that you
just
visit.
for that, like you can go to Austin, you can go to Portland, Seattle, LA, San Francisco, big cities. They're going to have cool record stores,
Yeah, that's cool shit. You talked about your work and people. I mean, you've talked about it on other things. I've heard you talk about it. You're a tattoo artist, as you're,
correct.
That's your
day job.
Your other passion, right?
Uh-huh.
How has that been affected with everything that's going on? I mean, that must be even.
It has devastated the industry. I have friends that, like, I have friends in LA that tattoo, and they haven't worked since March, because they hard.
This is way
lockdown.
worse in LA too, right?
Yeah, allegedly, I mean, to the point where the governor's like, this is closed, this is closed, this is closed.
Like stay-at-home orders or something.
Yeah, all that shit. Even
Curfews.
I had found out that we barely made the last like cutoff, because they were like turning people away, like, you can't come into California.
You mean to record?
Yeah, we barely made it. Like a couple days later, I guess a friend of a friend had tried to go to California. Like, where are you coming from? Oh, I'm coming from Arizona. You can't come in. You have to turn around. I don't know how true that is, but I know that like I said, I have friends all over that tattoo, and they're closed, and we were closed for 2.5 months, I think. And then ever since then, it's like super restricted, like you can't just walk into the shop anymore. You have to call and make an appointment and do all this shit. You got to wear a mask and make sure you're clean, don't have cooties.
You don't get any government help, do you?
Hell no.
Yeah, that's fucked
That's
up,
the
man.
worst part.
I
man.
can't believe that shit,
Yeah.
dude.
Hell no. Yeah, so it's been, that 2 months was rough. I binged watched The Office because I'd never seen it.
I think a lot of people binge watch something.
Yeah, that was my thing. I'd never seen The Office, and everybody raves about it, so I watched it.
What'd you think?
I liked it until the last season, because after Michael leaves, it's
Yeah.
Did you ever watch The British Office?
No, I don't. I'm not into like British humor.
Oh, okay. Then you wouldn't like it at all.
Yeah,
It's Ricky Gervais though. He's pretty funny.
He is very funny on his own. I'll give him that. But no, I never got into like, when I think of English humor, I think Benny Hill.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? And even then, it's like,
Monty Python.
yeah,
I think of Monty Python. Yeah.
yeah, and even then, it's like that dry English humor.
Yeah, it's very witty.
yeah, so cheeky.
A little too witty.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, it's good. It's great.
but-
You just gotta. Some people love it. Some people don't.
yeah.
So.
I just like I like English horror movies, but that's about it. I don't watch any like TV shows. Like I'd never seen The Office or Absolutely Fabulous. That was the only other thing I can think of.
Have you seen a good fucking horror movie recently? The last like few years, even.
Ooh, yeah. I liked Hereditary a lot.
I don't know.
I enjoyed that. Hagazusa was cool.
What is it?
Called Hagazusa. It's like
I
a
don't think I've heard that one.
it's like a Norwegian.
Ooh, I love
horror.
the foreign shit.
Yeah, and it's that's the thing about like European horror movies. They're like super slow burners, but they're good.
Have you
man.
ever seen Martyrs?
Yes,
By the French version, not the
Yeah,
American.
no, the
That is
French
my
version.
fucking top 5, dude.
Dude, it's so good. It's so
'Cause
wild.
you're the first person to ever come on here
Yeah.
that knew what that fucking
Oh,
movie
dude.
was, dude.
that
I
shit.
ask everybody that.
Watch Martyrs. It's wild. But make sure, don't watch the American.
I
Watch
haven't even watched the American version. I just
haven't
know
either.
it sucks.
Yeah, it's gonna be awful.
But yeah,
You can't do that.
I haven't seen a movie. I don't even really want to put that in the horror because it's more psychological in a
Yeah.
sense. But I haven't seen a good like horror-esque movie
Yeah.
like since
You know what was cool? If you haven't seen it, Black Coat's Daughter.
Black Coat's Daughter.
Yeah,
Okay.
Black Coat's Daughter was cool. The Lodge was cool. That was a good horror flick.
Was Parasite this year or
Parasite's
last year?
good.
I still haven't watched that yet.
No, I like
heard,
Parasite a lot.
I heard it's pretty awesome.
It's fucking creative as fuck.
I need to like finish watching The Wailing.
The Wailing.
Yeah, that was another Korean horror flick.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm out of the game right now. I don't know any
Yeah.
of this shit.
The crazy thing that's blown up is the Asian horror, especially Korean horror. We were just talking about that on a show the other day for the comic stuff. That has really blown up in the past couple years, and especially a lot of fans over here in the United States just falling in love with it.
Yeah, they're doing some cool shit.
Well, they do shit beyond the Americans don't. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
wh-
Americans always seem the Americans seem held back by the studio system. You know what I mean? Where like foreign films can just fucking get as
They're
crazy
more
and wild
matched,
and bizarre
yeah.
as they want.
But yeah, they're the gore factor is pretty ramped up, and the story's ramped up. Yeah, I agree. Like the big studio, like, oh, you can't do that.
Or they put their thoughts like, you should do this, you should
Yeah.
do that. Well, I'm not saying that they don't do that in the foreign films. I feel like they get away with more.
Well, what's amazing is that how our way of viewing these things are changing. They're going. I think we're gonna have less movies and more of the long form stuff, right?
Shows?
Yeah, shows. And with all the streaming services, because of what we're going through right now, and the change in the like what Mando does with the video
the
game
3D,
technology. Yeah,
CGI
it's so
shit? I know.
easy. It's so easy to film stuff at these big, huge, places that they made. I think they made 3 big, huge sound
Commando?
yeah,
Yeah.
that Star Wars / Disney made, and one in Australia, one in America, and one somewhere else. So they're going to be able to start pumping out these really
Well, the
good
problem
movies.
is you know how you guys were saying all these albums are going to drop next year? It's going to be opposite for television shows because all the productions got shut down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all the shows that we would normally expect to come out aren't going to happen.
Yeah.
So luckily we'll have all this music, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kinda
sure.
sucks.
Fuck yeah. Well, hey, I'm one of those people that always kind of says like, if they said you're going to take your eyesight or your hearing, a lot of people will just be like, fucking take the hearing, and I'd be like, I don't know, man. Like,
That's a tough question.
yeah, I don't know, man. I love music so much that I would definitely be a hard.
We feel like our hearing's already gone. Like
Oh,
you,
dude,
shit,
my-
you've been to louder concerts than I've
my
been. Shit.
hearing is trashed. But like I said, I wised up about 10 years ago. I'm like, all right, I gotta start wearing earplugs because
Well, like 20 years ago, like you were called a pussy. To have
Oh, hell
earplugs
yeah.
in. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
and when I was a teenager, I had long ass hair, I could hide that shit, but not anymore. But I got to the point where it's like, you know what?
It's like, we're old. Fuck you.
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah.
I don't give a fuck. You can say whatever you want. I'm just gonna enjoy my whiskey and watch this show and still be able to hear in the morning.
It takes out those fucking crazy highs anyway, and it kind of makes everything
Especially if
sound cleaner.
you invest a little bit in some decent earplugs, you can't. Like, I have a pair that I wear, for playing live and stuff.
Do you guys like play like to a click track or anything like in your piece right now? That's awesome.
You know what? And
that's amazing.
And this is what's cool, and this is a testament to how badass Mr. Lennon Lopez is. We've been on tour and we've had bands, ask if we play to a click, and we're like, no, because we're like, that American groove metal.
Are a lot of bands like that these days? I feel like, I mean, I held my friend or Oompa, he's supposed to be here today. Actually, I assisted him doing sound at Joe's Grotto, and I just felt like every single band now brings a laptop and plays to the click, and I haven't heard of any bands saying fuck that nowadays. What is the status of that? Are a lot of bands doing that, or
here's the thing? I think a lot of it has to do with bands are kind of. Not all bands, but I think a lot of bands are so like worried about playing super perfect, super clean. It's got to sound like the record. It's like, if I want to listen to the record, I'll sit at home. I want to see a show, like going back to the performance thing. I want to see a show. I don't care if you can play 1,000 notes a minute, I want to see you play. I want to see the passion. I want to see a show.
Generally, like live shows, that's played a little bit faster too when it's not to a click because of the energy and stuff like that.
Sure. Like, and to be fair, Lennon's guilty of it. Like, I'll see like video of certain things, and he was just like, "Damn, I was playing fast." I'm like, "Yeah, dude." But Richie has a cool system of getting like he can hear it, and
bring it back
and like pump the brakes, kid.
But that's not a bad thing. That's just like the energy of the person.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like that just adds so much more to the performance.
Absolutely.
So it's going back to what you were saying. Like I think that's why their live shows so energetic.
I mean, and it's just one of those things. Like if Lennon had to, he could play to a click, but I feel like for the music that we play, it's not necessary. And plus, I mean, it's like it's a feel thing, It's like certain parts you want him to play, like he'll push and he'll know when to pull back, and it just adds another dimension. And and then you're not getting the same show every night. It's different. Different things are going to sound different and hit different, and that's the fun of it for me anyway.
The heart, as you called it.
Yeah. Earlier, and Lennon is a fucking badass. He's such a good drummer.
Yeah, he's bad as fuck.
Yeah, he is something else, and he's funny as shit. But yeah, he's one of the best drummers I've ever played with.
Do you have any social media accounts where people can find you and follow you and maybe your art or?
Yeah, I have Instagram. It's Saint_L, and it's supposed to be. It's just basically my artist page because it's like
Oh yeah, that's dope.
Band stuff and tattoo stuff. I mean, if you're looking for tattoo stuff, I apologize because you have to wade through a bunch of dumb band stuff to get to them, but they're in there.
I'll put links up and shit.
Yeah, I don't have and then I have a Facebook artist page, and I think it's just the life and times of Saint L. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember.
They'll be in the description below.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But I have an artist page. It's out there, and like my Facebook, that's private, just because it's like family shit usually, or Facebook is like
Facebook is lame.
Yeah, if I wasn't in a band, I think I would only have an Instagram for tattoo shit.
That's how I feel about like the podcast and the other shit I'm doing. I wouldn't have Facebook if I wasn't doing any of that shit.
The only thing I use it for, it's been cool because like I have friends, that don't live in state. It's cool to be able to keep,
That's the only good positive about it.
It's just, oh my God, Facebook has come off the rails. Everybody's political science major.
Yeah, no shit.
A constitutional lawyer and a PhD.
Remember when it used to be memes and like dog cat videos?
Yeah, cat videos. Bring back the dog videos.
Yeah, the memes of like I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The great meme war of
2016.
yeah, 2016.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, we really appreciate you coming on the show.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah,
It was a
you
blast.
can fucking seriously come on anytime you want. You want to bullshit if you have anything you want to promote or fucking, just share with us or
Hell
whatever
yeah.
the fuck, man. So,
Appreciate
It's
it.
a lot of fun, man. Yeah.
do you have anything you need to add?
No, just you guys make sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell, and so you're notified whenever a new show drops.
Leave a comment.
Leave a comment.
And you
Tell
can
me how
also,
handsome I am.
yeah, and you can also find more videos of Bub McClay's head if you enjoyed the show. So thanks again for joining us.
Absolutely.
And that
Thanks
is
for the invite.
a wrap on episode 112 of the Bogcast.
Sauce.
All right, let's do this. Ads, baby. Ads, baby.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
ads.
wait, let's do that again, man. Ads, baby. Ads, baby.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
ads.
wait, let's do that again, man.
Ads, baby. Ads,
I don't
baby.
know. I'm fucking just trying to fucking get the fuck out of here, dude. We have now partnered with Mellow by Design to bring you handcrafted, high-quality CBD at a discounted price. No promo code.
Nope.
All you have to do is go to bogcastcbd.com, and all the prices are already reduced. Tinctures, topical sprays, pet drops, salves, and even hand sanitizer.
COVID, bro.
Vegan-friendly, all-natural, gluten-free, and sweetener-free. No THC.
Bummer.
Oh, my God.
They won't watch this.
Bang!